there to all our viewers. Joining me today in the studio is a very special guest. He is a filmmaker, producer and actor. And his movie The Billionaire won the Best Comedy Feature Award at the Burbank International Film Festival in September last year. He is none other than Gehan Cooray. Thank you very much, Gehan, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Poshia.
So tell us a little bit about your movie, The Billionaire. Tell us all about it.
Absolutely. So the movie is adapted from a George Bernard Shaw play from the 1930s called The Millionaires. I changed agendas around, and with inflation, the millionaires turned into a billionaire in the 21st century. The film, the adaptation really sets Bernard Shaw's original story against the backdrop of same-sex marriage, which of course is legal in the United States. And even though we deal with same-sex marriage, I'm not dealing with homosexuality, I'm dealing with asexuality, which is a topic that's seldom ever discussed in the media, and we rarely see it represented on the screen, be it film or television. What asexuality means is that the person has no interest in sex. So you're neither homosexual, nor heterosexual, nor bisexual. You're chaste and pure, as I call it. So, Poshia, we depict chaste and pure marriages and chaste and pure relationships in the film, which, I was raised Catholic, so we do have a few saints who were chaste and pure even in marriage. So we kind of portray that in the movie, because there are people like that in real life saints. I thought it would be fascinating to, explore that topic. Mm-hmm. And of course, now the movie has been taken all the way to the Oscars, where in consideration for the Oscars, fingers crossed, the nominations will come out very soon. But I'm sandwiched on the official Oscars reminder list of eligible productions between a Keanu Reeves movie and a Kate Winslet movie. So to see my name, Gehan Cooray, between Keanu Reeves and Kate Winslet on an official Oscars document was like a dream come true,
So before I get into the Oscars part, can I know when we will be able to see this on the big screens here in Colombo?
Yes, Poshia. So the movie will be released to the general public in Colombo on the 19th of March, which is a Friday. It'll be in most Colombo cinemas for at least 2 weeks, starting on the 19th of March. PVR 1 Goldface, Colombo City Centre, Scope Cinemas, Liberty, Majestic City, Savoy, and a couple of others as well. So, I'm excited to share it with my own people in Sri Lanka, really.
Yes, so Gehan, so you told me this was an adaptation of a classic play by George Bernard Shaw.
Yes.
Tell me, what were the risks of taking a classic play like that and sort of adding these modern elements like asexuality and same-gender marriage? What were the risks there? And how did you maintain the sophistication of the original play? Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I think it was easy for me to incorporate those modern elements into this script because, like you said, it's a very sophisticated script, and that's what drew me to the Shaw script, because I think, frankly, most modern films and TV shows are not sophisticated. They're very banal and very crude, whereas, Shaw is very classy. That's my favorite era, even when it comes to cinema. I love the classic Hollywood films going back to the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. So I kind of wanted to bring in the sophistication and charm of the past into the modern era. And the thing is, Poshia, Bernard Shaw's character, the millionaire, the original character, was very much like a gay man. Very, I won't spoil too much, but I think, this was a character who was very controversial at the time and yet very empowered. And I think, I wanted to portray, gay people and asexual people in a very empowered manner, because usually they're portrayed, struggling to come to terms with their sexual identity and such, whereas I thought it was high time we, stopped telling those kinds of stories, like the struggle to come out, and instead portrayed, same-gender marriage and asexuality as a fact of life. In the original play, the millionaires was very proud and very haughty because of her wealth and status. So I thought it was very appropriate in my adaptation for the billionaire, played by myself, to be proud and haughty not only about his wealth and status, but also about being asexual, because he has no need to have sex, so he feels like he's angelic and above the mere mortals. So there was another dimension to the pride.
Yes, so you played the character of the
The billionaire,
yes.
yes.
So how did you prepare for the character? Is there any sort of place you drew inspiration from, or tell us a little bit about how you prepared for the character?
Absolutely. So, I had an excellent foundation in Sri Lanka. I studied elocution, speech and drama with Samantha Bewira de Soisa, who was one of Sri Lanka's best, speech and drama teachers. I did Shakespeare in school, as you did yourself, the All Ireland Inter-School Shakespeare Drama Competition, where I was in a production of Julius Caesar, which won, back in 2005. And then I went to the United States of America. I'm now a citizen of America. I studied at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, where I majored in drama and psychology. And I also took as many cinema classes as possible there, the USC School of Cinematic Arts, which is the best film school in the world. George Lucas went there. So really, Poshia, because I'd studied acting from the time I was a child all the way through university in LA, so I didn't really have to prepare specifically for this role, because I think when you have that training as an actor, you can kind of tackle any role with sufficient time, of course,
So I want to talk a little bit about the Oscars. So you took this movie to the Oscars all by yourself. Tell me a little bit about the process of submitting films to the Oscars, since you single-handedly did this.
Yes, thank you, Poshia. Because most people submit their movies to the Oscars through a big studio or through a distribution company, whereas here, I, as Gehan Cooray, Sri Lankan American filmmaker / producer, I contacted the Oscars myself. I emailed them. This was even before I had won the Burbank International Film Festival Award. So I told them that I'd made this movie and that I would like to submit it to the Oscars. And they were very kind, Porsche. They treated me with so much respect, and they explained the process of submitting. There was a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff to fill out, which, they guided me through it. It was pretty straightforward. And I said, oh, wow, I was expecting this to be much more complicated. And they said, you'll be surprised at how seldom we hear that, And now, because honestly, Porsche, I feel like people are just lazy. This is something that I did all on my own for the very first time. But people don't really take the time and the trouble to learn the process, as you put it. And then I also submitted, so now the film is also on the Oscars official streaming platform, which is known as the Academy Screening Room.
That's quite a victory.
Thank you. Yes, because if nothing else, I know that all these Oscar voting members have, they have the film on their own exclusive streaming platform. So, just to, the world's best streaming platform, the most exclusive streaming platform. So just to be able to share my work with the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences alone is a victory. And now to be shortlisted on that official Oscars document, I think there are about 300 films that have been shortlisted, and to be one of them among Kate Winslet and Keanu Reeves and Ewan McGregor and, all these people, that itself is a victory, Porsche.
Yes. So what was the journey like from the beginning to the end, the casting, scripting, and the shooting of the movie? Just elaborate a little bit on what it was like and how you started, basically the whole journey.
Absolutely. So, one of my favorite movies growing up was My Fair Lady. And I loved that era, the sophistication, the class, and that was also an adaptation of a George Bernard Shaw play. So I was like, okay, if this is going to be my first feature film, I would like it to be a George Bernard Shaw play, because I think I was 3 years old when I watched My Fair Lady. So because I was already very familiar with the style of Shaw, it was easy to adapt the screenplay. I think I wrote some of it in America, some of it while I was down on vacation here in Sri Lanka. And then I took it back to Los Angeles. We cast all the actors in Hollywood. I live in Central Hollywood. We have a lovely screening room in my condominium building, so we had all the auditions there.
Great.
Yes, Portia. And I read with all the actors myself, auditioned them, ensured we had the right chemistry. And some of these people, like one of the actors was on the hit TV series Entourage for several seasons. The Bold and the Beautiful, this one actress who's won 5 Emmy Awards for her work on The Young and the Restless and The Bold and the Beautiful. So, to work with them was itself so awesome. We took all the actors from Los Angeles to Canada, and we shot in Canada because the director had a production company in Canada. So, they sourced all these lovely locations in Canada. When you see the film, you'll see these beautiful vistas in Canada, which, I mean, the scenery is just absolutely gorgeous. And afterwards I brought the film back to Los Angeles, we edited it, I took it to Warner Brothers to do the post-production, the color correction, the
Tell
sound
me a
mixing.
little bit about what that was like, working with an international film company.
Like Warner Brothers.
Yeah, how was that? What was that like?
And again, there's a My Fair Lady connection because My Fair Lady was produced and shot on the Warner Brothers studio lot. So, that was a thrill in and of itself. And they were very nice. They were very respectful. They didn't just treat me like, oh, this, Sri Lankan independent filmmaker. They had me in with them during every session. And they even learned a little bit from me because, for example, I was telling them, guys, you can't color correct a South Asian the way you would color correct an African American or a Latino American, because even though we're all people of color, we have different skin tones and shades, So I was like, when you're color correcting, you have to pay attention to those, subtle differences. And, I think, I'm sure that doing the post-production at Warner Brothers helped me to make the film Oscar eligible, because now it's eligible for Best Picture,
Wow.
as well as Best Actor and Best Adapted Screenplay. So, Poshia, I mean, the whole process took several years, but to get to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences kind of vindicated me. It justified all the hard work and the sacrifices.
Yes, so filmmaking is not just a hobby for you,
No,
is it?
no,
When
no.
did you realize this was your life and living?
Very early on, I mean, I'm an only child, so I grew up watching these films, My Fair Lady, The Sound of Music, Mary Poppins, and I felt like, music and drama and cinema, literature, those were my companions growing up, and far better companions than your average brother or sister, I would say, frankly, I think I was really enriched by all of this, so I felt like I wanted to devote my life to it, whether it was filmmaking or acting or singing. So because I do all three, it really depends on what assignment I'm working on at any given point in time. So I did a solo concert at Carnegie Hall in 2019. We had the Chief of Cabinet to the United Nations Secretary General there in New York. And I mean, Carnegie Hall is like every singer's dream, they have 3 halls there. So I performed at the second largest hall. I think I'm the only Sri Lankan to have performed there. But, even in the movie, I incorporated my singing into it.
Oh yes, so you sing in the movie,
Yes, yes. Because my main love interest in the film is a French-American character. So my character woos him by singing these French operatic arias to him. And that's also something, Poshia, which we don't see anymore, because back in the 1930s and 40s in the classic Hollywood films, you would have, opera, they would incorporate all these art forms into their films, because I felt like, by infusing my story with these French operatic arias, there's a certain elegance, it takes you back to a different era, because even though I love Broadway musical theatre, I think there's something about opera that penetrates deeper into the soul. Even if you don't understand the language, the music itself is so romantic and so epic and so grand and sweeping that it just, even at the premiere, which happened on the 10th of March, even though the general public will only see the film from the 19th of March onwards, we had a media premiere on the 10th of March, and people were like, yeah, even though we didn't understand the French, we were still swept away by, the emotions.
Yes, you definitely set a very high standard for all Sri Lankan filmmakers. Any advice that you would have for upcoming budding filmmakers here in Sri Lanka?
I mean, I really admire you, Poshia, because even though, you won an award for Best Supporting Actress at the School Shakespeare Drama Competition, you told me, Gehan, I don't have time to act nowadays, so, I focus on my work. And I think that's something, Poshia, that people in Sri Lanka need to come to terms with. If they want to become an actor or an actress or a filmmaker or a director, they need to, devote all their time to that. They need to study that, the same way I went to university in America and studied drama and cinema. I studied psychology also because, in America you can study multiple disciplines. So I feel like, you can't really do this as a hobby because, it's not a fun thing. It requires so much time and concentration and commitment and, I get it. In Sri Lanka, there are some people who do it as a hobby, but if you really want to take it to the next level, and certainly you can't become Oscar eligible if you do it as a hobby,
Yes, definitely.
So my advice, Poshia, would be, please, if you're serious about this, once you finish school, study this at the university level. Even in Sri Lanka, you can study, for example, drama and theatre as an A-level subject. I took it as an A-level subject. It's a 9-hour paper. It was like 3 papers, 3 hours each. But because I think as artists, there's a misapprehension in Sri Lanka that it's just a fun thing, but in fact it's a craft, it's a discipline.
And on that note, it's time for me to bring to a close this discussion with Gehan Cooray. Do not forget to check out The Billionaire, hitting the big screens from the 19th of March onwards. Thank you very much, Gehan, for joining me today.
Thank you, Poshia. It was an absolute pleasure.
Take care
Take
and
care.
God bless.
God bless.